How you guys doing? Again, it's Siser Banks here, teaching you how to hustle, grind, and grow on YouTube. And today I'm going to be using Photoshop to design a thumbnail that I will be using on one of my videos that I just recorded. And I'm going to make the thumbnail right here now live with you guys. This is a template that I will make available, but what I'm going to end up doing is pulling in some pieces so I don't have to navigate them. So I'll be pulling in this here because it's kind of like the centralized theme for this thumbnail series of the YouTube hustle rather. And so one of the things I want to tell you guys is that this lower right hand corner of the template is where your time would be displayed. So the big box is what will be displayed on the mobile, where the time will be, so you don't put anything there. And the little one is what will be displayed on the web browser, so that you do not put anything there. So we're going to start with these two things, just not wanting to put anything in the bottom right hand corner of the thumbnail, and we're just going to work from there. So right now we're going to hop into show you what it looks like. I'm on my channel and I'm going to pull up my thumbnails, and I'm actually going to go into my videos and I'll show you kind of, you can see where the time is there. But I'm going to scroll down, and earlier into my videos I was putting some text on the right hand side. I started to move everything towards the left or the middle. Like if you see here on here, the time is over the N and the D, but if it was on the mobile, the whole word brand is pretty much out of the actual picture. So what happens is you don't want to put anything to the right, so try to keep your valuable information there to the left of the browser if it's valuable information. Okay, so let's jump right in here and get started designing this bad boy moving forward. So again, I am freely designing. I have yet to actually say what I'm going to do, but we're just going to jump in now and get going as far as that goes. I'm going to be pulling in my elements from this other template, so just keep that in mind. You can pull your images in off of Google or wherever else. You just look for like PNG stuff or your personal images, and I will also have tutorials on how to cut things out. But for the general basis of making this tutorial, I'm going to pull things in from this here thumbs tab of my old thumbnails. So I'm going to navigate into some of the elements that I use, and pretty much is this centralized piece right here with me and the money. And I'm going to go in and find that, and pretty much it's my old character just covered up the face with money. Has to do with like getting money on YouTube here, pretty much the hustle part of it. So I'm going to drag this whole thing over to this new thumbnail, and I'm going to put it over to the side here. Okay, so I like to work in folders, so I'm going to put this inside of a folder here, and we're going to use that as this centralized theme. And you can see, you know, turning on and off of these little pieces. I don't need them on anymore because I know I'm not putting any valuable information. The next thing that I need to grab is my background, and this background here is pretty much a centralized theme. And to me, this is one of the main pieces of branding that you can use and have a centralized background. Again, the background really kind of represents the ideas, writing ideas on paper, crumpling that paper up, throwing it off to the side, throwing it in the trash, getting it back, playing with your ideas some more. And this is something that you can use a centralized color or a centralized background to really add some fluency to your branding as a whole. So whatever makes sense to your brand, you can use that, whether it's just a color or it's a color in the background. A lot of women like to use glitter and different things like that, so just keep that in mind. Find a centralized theme or background that you guys can use. All right, so I'm going to create a new layer, and again, this is for something I like to do. I didn't want to have a bunch of uniformity in my thumbnails. As far as colors go, a lot of people say you should have a centralized theme, and I just decided to go with the centralized theme of myself. So I'm going to turn this on to normal, and I actually need to drop this into the folder and underneath of my character. And I'm going to show you guys what exactly I'm going to make this new layer for. And one of the things I like to do is I'm going to fill this with a color. And because this has to do with YouTube, I'm not going to use this. but this is something that I do with my branding in order to give, based on the colors or the shirt that's in the thumbnail, I like to make it match. So I can fill this with a color, and I'm going to play with these blend modes, and I'm going to multiply so you can still see the print in there, but it takes on a color. And then sometimes I make a second layer to allow my color to kind of shine through and still have that look of that crumpled paper in my branding. But I really don't need this, so I'm going to turn this back to normal, and I'm going to go ahead and make some guides. Now, these guides are just for me. I like to line up my text based on these guides, and then once I get it lined up, I can go ahead and I can resize it based off of what I need it to, where I want it to actually be. But these guides are what I'm going to use to line my text up to have it take on that box look. Okay, now we're just going to call this, well, the video is my first paycheck from YouTube or whatever the case is, but in your thumbnail you want to try to simplify that. All right, I'm going to pick the font that I like, which is Babies, and I'm just going to type it in. So I'm going to call it My First. Okay, and then I'm going to size that kind of, get it bigger, and then the next word is going to be YouTube. So once I get that positioned, I'm going to copy it holding down the Option key on my Mac here, and I'm going to just replace the words, and I'm going to put in YouTube. Okay, and then the last word is going to be check. I didn't mean to get up there with that, but I'm going to put check here. And then I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to resize all of my wording so that it actually reaches both ends of my guide. So I'm just going to stretch this YouTube here, and then I'm going to select check, and I'm going to stretch that, make sure it's touching on both sides. Boom. And I'm going to hit that one, make sure it's on both sides. And then I need to go back into my check here, or my first, I'm sorry, and stretch that bad boy back over here, and that looks pretty good. And get it down a little bit too far on this side. Just want to make sure it's kind of perfect. I'm a perfectionist, All right, so now for spacing, what I'm going to do is I like to just make sure it touches, and then I hold the shift key and I use the arrow key, and I do 2 of those generally for spacing, unless I can't fit 2, and I do 1. So just space out both of them, and then that's pretty much my text. Now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to try to think of what I can do to make this look better. And one of the things that I can kind of do is I can move this to the right. I'm sorry, move my character to the left, move the text over to the right, and then I can turn on my little, guides for where I can't put text, and I can have the thumbnail be arranged this way, just keeping in mind that I don't want any valuable information where those guides are. But again, that's just to show you, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to leave it along with my theme. And like I said, I just don't want anything in this bottom right corner here. All right, so now what can I do to make this better is I can actually replace the word YouTube with the actual character. The actual logo from YouTube. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the browser. We're going to go to Google, and we're going to YouTube. We're going to go to type in YouTube logo, and you could go to the PNGs, but you can get it directly from YouTube by going to their resources. They make their logo available for us to use because, they need us to use it in their videos and stuff like that. They're going to show us the right way to use it and what not to do with it. Although sometimes we do some of the things like change the whole color or whatever the case is based on what we're using it for. But, we use it as we see fit to make it work. So I'm just going to download the full color. So I'm going to click this. Okay, and you're just gonna look around here, and it made it available. Boom. So now I unpack it. I'm using WinZip, so I need to get rid of that. So now unpack it, and I'm just gonna drag it. I need to drag it to my file. We got our AI, we got EPS, we got a PNG. I'm gonna use the PNG, and it's not gonna let me drag it because the file still zips. So I'm gonna put it into my downloads, and I'm gonna drag it on. So now, to make this a little bit better, I can actually just use the YouTube logo to make it more recognizable rather than the word. with the play button and all that. So I'm going to resize it the same as I would anything else. Okay, and then I'm going to replace the word YouTube here by cutting it off, and I'm going to space it out first. Boom, boom, with the 2 tabs, and I'm going to turn off the word YouTube, and now I need to reposition the word check. Boom, boom. All right, now that that's there, it looks a lot better, and I'm just going to check, but I'm pretty sure that YouTube uses the actual color FF000 for the color, which it does. And now that we're good to go. All right, so now I can resize everything, but I like to use folders and name this one wording just to make everything organized moving forward. And we're good to go there. What I want to do next is resize that word. So I want to take and resize everything. I can make it bigger. All right, so I resized it and move it down a little bit. So I'm going to actually put that on top of the money there, and I'm going to position it a little bit. All right, so I want to see if I can add another element just to make this a little bit better. So when you get started with the process of getting AdSense activated, they send you this letter. So let's see if somebody has a letter available for me to use. AdSense letter PNG. If I can find a nice copy of this letter, and I'll use it. So let's see if we can find one. Nothing here. So let's see if we can change the wording a little bit. And pen letter, because it comes with your pen number, and I'm going to take off PNG because I can cut it and make it. None of these really look good, but that's kind of like what the image looks like. But none of it really looks any good, so I'm not going to do it. Look for large, and that's just how you get like a high resolution one part right here. I'm not really finding anything that looks good. I wish I kept mine and took a picture with it for this purpose, but again, I really wasn't planning on doing any of this. But if I'm going to encourage people, I should show people what's going on. All right, so I'm going to select the wording folder and the background, and I'm going to center it so it looks good there. Looking at my element, I use this background around my stuff, around my text, so I'm going to go ahead and add that portion into it. All right, and it usually matches the background, so I'm going to double click, and I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to change this to an outside stroke, and I usually do 5 or 10. I'm going to change it to white, and then I'm going to probably, white looks good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase the size to 10, and that looks good. All right, so that kind of just adds a little dimension for me, just what I like to do. So we're looking good, looking good. Now, what I want you guys to kind of understand is that this has been like a 13-minute process so far, and what you can kind of do is, again, not put any information down that bottom right corner. Move your text to the left or above that. You can decide, once you got your centralized idea, you can kind of work this very, very fast, and it'd be like maybe a 5-minute process instead of a longer process like I'm explaining to you. So I'm just copying that folder. Once I made that folder, my name is check number 2, and what I could do is go ahead and change my background color by changing to multiply. I can select a new color and I can fill it. So let's select yellow here, and I can fill my background with that yellow. I can select my text layers. I can change the text color to yellow as well. And I could change the text, of course, but for these purposes, I really don't need to change the color. I'm just trying to show you guys, change my stroke color to black. And I can basically very, very quickly create something new. All I would need to do is obviously change the text. So this has just been a tutorial on how to create a YouTube thumbnail using Photoshop very, very fast. Again, look in the description below, and you can get the template to this thumbnail template, and you can download it and use it free of charge. I'm just trying to share with you guys what I need or what I use. So in the comments below, let me know what programs you guys use or want to use. I'll be making some tutorials and other programs to make YouTube thumbnails as well, just to give you guys some resources and guide. But I'm a Photoshop user, so I wanted to start with Photoshop. There are other programs, so let me know in the comments below what programs you use. Again, this has been Stan Banks teaching you how to hustle, grind, and grow on YouTube. If you like this video, subscribe, and I'll be bringing you more every Tuesday on Tube Tuesdays, where I teach you something to do with YouTube to grow. It's been Stan Banks again from Hustle, Grind, and Grow. Peace.